Is it working now?
No, it's not.
It's going through the mixer. There should be audio.
They're saying F. No, nope. Silent Mary. Someone call Brett.
Well, is it working for? It's feeding to the mixer now. I changed that. I don't know.
They're
what else
still
to do.
saying no sound. I don't know. Yeah, they're all saying no sound. I'm gonna.
There are people saying, "Yeah, it fixed it." So that was the issue.
Is it working? Wait, is it working?
Ah,
it's working.
Okay.
I told you.
You're kidding. Okay, we're good now.
Yeah. Sarah says that it's working. Yeah. So.
Thank goodness. Texting. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I'm just gonna start right from the very beginning. Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary, and I was just telling you when you couldn't hear me that I was so relieved to get back to some sense of normalcy on this show again. And frankly, I fully intended on joining the show on Monday and Tuesday's episodes last week. Sadly, I fell incredibly ill. And I don't know if you can even notice that still in my voice, but I am not 100% back to my usual self quite yet. That's okay, we're trucking along. But it has been pretty effing brutal, not gonna lie. Thankfully, Brett was here to hold down the fort while I was out sick and while I was out of town. So I'm here to do the same for Brett while he is out of town. I don't know if he even told you what he is up to right now, but we'll just say Brett's on a top secret mission of some kind, and we'll leave it at that. We send him our best wishes. And today I have Serge sitting across from me where Brett usually is. Hi, Serge.
I don't think I have that camera on.
Your camera's not on.
It's okay, it's not a big deal. I'll figure it out.
Okay, while you turn your camera on, let's introduce Phil instead.
Hi, everybody. How are we doing?
You are on.
How are we doing today?
It's chaotic.
It's a little bit of a mess today, but yeah, we're here. We're going to hold it down. We're going to make it happen. So, yeah, let's just jump right in.
What have you been up to? Lately?
I've been
I feel like I haven't been caught up to speed. Every time that I'm gone for a while, I feel like there are inside jokes that I don't understand.
I've been doing PCC, Mary.
Yeah,
that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a bunch of PCC, and I've been doing IRL and looking for new places to live because my apartment is too small. So yeah. That's it.
Well, it's good to be back. There's nothing to worry about. Serge, are you worried?
No, not at all.
I'm glad that you're not worried.
I mean, look, PCC is a labor of love, but it's not gonna be a problem if we have a couple technical glitches. The chat is gonna love us still. The fans of PCC are still fans of PCC.
Yeah.
Little things like this add character to the stream, and it shows that we're willing to put in the extra effort to make sure that things are working. Specifically, when I say things, I mean the audio.
And the actual cameras.
Yes.
We have a couple of $20 super chats. First off, Shane H. Wilder said, "Happy Monday, Mary, Phil, and the elusive Serge." He's especially elusive today.
Cheers.
Who I guess is pressing buttons. Welcome back, Mary. You were missed. I'm sure Brett is having fun with his travel Roku. 20 till 800. So that should be March 18th. Let's go.
Do you think that Brett is watching?
I don't think Brett is watching, to be entirely honest. I think he's busy watching old shows on his travel Roku.
She's like, he's not watching. He's literally texting me right now.
He knows the secret solution. And we have another 20 from King. Serge, YouTube says it's logged out, by the way.
No, that's not what's happening.
Is there some
do you want me to flame
reason
you guys?
to be worried?
All of your guys' the stuff that's in here that's like the little what do you call it? Like the plugins, they're not working. So I was trying to figure out which plugin was one to hide to not have the sign-in thing on your screen. So apologies, guys. That's not what's going on. King, but shout out.
You should turn on your camera though if you get a moment.
I don't
know where it is.
Because people
want to see your pretty face.
I get it. I don't know where it is. I'll figure it out later. I understand. It's not. I know where the camera is. I don't know where the button is on his thing. So it's okay. I'll figure it out, guys.
No, that's entirely fine. You know that, guys. Serge. We're not shooting for the stars today. I told them both this before we started. We're just gonna have an extremely chill show. So cool your jets, calm your tits, etc.
Ooh.
And before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe if you haven't already. And throughout the show, if you send us any super chat, $20 and over, we will read that right then and there if you would like to join our discussion or just be a massive distraction, which is another one from Jose Quintana just now.
That's acceptable.
Happy Tuesday, Phil, Surge, and Ghost Empress. We missed you terribly, Empress. Please do not leave us for that long ever, ever again. Happy belated Valentine's Day, Mary. Long live PCC.
Ghost Empress.
I'm really struggling. I think you guys can tell that my voice is just not the same right now, but I'm doing my best, and I have saved up a lot of energy for yapping, just have a good yap session with all of you. So that's exactly what we're about to do, and we're going to start off by talking about the 50th anniversary special of SNL.
Oh,
it
sick.
Was absolutely garbage entertainment. I cannot believe that after 50 years, this is the best they could come up with. In fact, I looked up how many people viewed the 40th anniversary special. It was something like 26 million viewers live. And I mean, that was quite a while ago. And now they've boasted about 15 million who are watching the 50th. Not good. Huge drop. And I understand why. I feel like, yes, okay, sure, SNL has been around for half a century, but they haven't been relevant for what feels like even longer than that. And I don't know if we should blame Lorne Michaels, if we should blame NBC, or we should blame ourselves for even still caring about this nonsense.
So that's a little bit of the case. We should blame ourselves for still caring about this nonsense, but more so we should blame NBC.
Really?
Yeah.
Are we sure?
They're the ones that make the garbage.
They did an interview with Lorne Michaels for Vulture, and they were talking about the future of SNL once Lorne Michaels either retires or dies, basically. And he's 80 years old now, and they have to start thinking about what that future looks like. I can't imagine, as bad as SNL has already gotten, I can't imagine that it's going to get any better after he retires or after he passes away, because whoever comes next in line to be in charge of SNL is going to have even less chain of command, actual power at NBC. The next person is going to be even more beholden to the network and the network's interests and sensitivities. So it's just going to be a train wreck.
Wouldn't it? I mean,
if it's not already.
I feel like it makes sense that the person to be in the position to take up the mantle or whatever you want to call it, you already have to have bought into the ideology, because the ideology has kind of been ubiquitous there for at least a decade, probably longer. And to be able to move up the ranks and put yourself into a position where now, today in 2025, you would be replacing someone, kind
of a Biden.
Yeah, I mean, but you at least would have to. You at least would have to have spent the past whatever amount of time you've been at NBC doing the things that would allow you to move up. And if you were like, this is a bad idea and these jokes suck and blah, 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 I can't imagine you would be getting a whole lot of promotion.
Wasn't that the whole point of 30 Rock too? Like the idea that these out of touch executives that work at NBC don't understand what audiences want and they don't have a good sense of humor.
I never really watched 30 Rock, but that sounds like it would make a good show.
Highly recommend, by the way. It's a great show. But they felt that this was an opportunity to, boast of everything that SNL has accomplished for the culture thus far by trashing Trump supporters. That's what they decided to do with this. And they brought Tom Hanks, of all people, to do so. I'm not going to say what I think about Tom Hanks right now, but you can actually go to a conspiracy video on our channel to talk about that. He decided to put on a MAGA hat for this sketch of Black Jeopardy. And in this sketch, you can see him.
Black Jeopardy.
It's Black Jeopardy. And this is actually, you can see in this video, it's a recycled sketch that they did, I believe, back in like 2017 already. And they just recycled it all over again. But let's watch the clip of the original from last night.
Hey, now, speaking of church, can I say something? If more folks went to church, we wouldn't be in this mess we're in now.
You know what? I agree with you, Doug. I'd like to shake your hand, sir. Here we go.
No,
He backs away from the Black Jeopardy host because he's racist.
Thank you, my brother. Maybe I'll start a show for you to come on, and we'll call it What Jeopardy?
No, we don't need it. We don't need it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. That's just a laugh riot, huh? I mean, I am slapping my knees right now.
Yeah,
that is
before
one
the show,
to remember.
Before the show, you were definitely just laughing so much it was hard to focus.
It was funny.
The whole time.
I was watching through some of the skits from SNL 50, so I actually know what I'm talking about. And the problem was it was not even something where I was exhaling from my nose. No. I wasn't even exhaling from my nose in my head. And it's not just because I'm sick and I can't exhale from my nose.
There
was not even the desire.
There's a $20 from...
We have a desire, or not we have a super chat from Dr. Larsenna. Dr. Larsenna said, Mary, Phil, so good to see you. Don't let those tech glitches discourage you. Much love. Phil, please explain the woke right and what we all should think about it. Oh, and Mary and Serge are welcome to weigh in too. What is the woke right, Phil?
So I don't have a great definition for the woke right. But essentially it's the right in the US has generally been for small government and less intrusion into people's lives, and the left has been pro big government. So there's a certain group of people that are like, or a certain faction on the right that's like, no, if you don't use the government, then the government will be used against you. So we should use the government and have our policies be used to implement our policies, and it's okay to use the government to coerce people into behaving a certain way. And that's my understanding of the woke right. It's essentially the left application of right-leaning ideas.
We have another 20 without a message from Paramount Majestic. Thank you for that.
Thank you. That's great.
My favorite kind of $20 super chat. My take on the woke right is that a bunch of Trump supporters were coalition building and they didn't think to not compromise, but integrate all of their different and sometimes conflicting values. And that's what's happening right now, is that the people who are more of a religious right or socially conservative are bumping up against these libertarians, and there are just a million different factions that can't really get along right now.
Yeah, and I think that when I was actually mentioning this on IRL the other night, there are people, so there's the whole Ashley St. Clair, Elon Musk brouhaha that's going on, and people have opinions of it. And a lot of people are saying, oh, these people are not a good representative of conservatism, and they tend to be religious people, and they're right. These people aren't a good representation of what conservatives are. But we've been living in a leftist milieu for so long, and the left has been so dominant when it comes to popular culture, and essentially has been just so dominant of our culture for at least the past 30 years, that anyone that is not left has been grouped in with the right. And that's one of the and again, this is a leftist take on everything. If you're not a leftist, then you must be on the right. And people call Elon Musk far right, even though he's anything but far right. So the way that people are articulating anything that's not left is as to be the right, and it's not the way that it is. Like, there are going to be people that are not left that are in the MAGA coalition, or whatever you want to call it, which is a big tent kind of thing, that have different opinions. So, like, it's not to say just because you're not the left, that doesn't mean that you're a conservative Christian. You know, it's like, there again, like you mentioned earlier, there are libertarians, there are people that are just like, well, I'm fairly a normie, but I don't have a particular love for the way the left has been governing. And I think that's a mistake that people are making. And you hear the people on the already, look at this.
Thank you.
You've been back 17 minutes, and the first 5 of them you couldn't even talk.
And you're not even dancing.
Nope.
Right now.
No, I'm still protesting. But yeah, I think that the
we have another 20 just before you continue your point. From
Yeah, go
Pop
ahead,
Culture
go ahead.
Junkie. Part of his deal with NBC allows Lorne Michaels to pick his own replacement. Tina Fey keeps getting mentioned. No word as to whether she's interested. I mean, she's probably not. Why would you want to attach yourself to this dying show that their ratings have been plummeting for years at this point, and the jokes aren't funny anymore? Like, you forgot the funny. And to bring it back to SNL, actually, this is the way that they're still portraying all Trump supporters as people who actually physically recoil at the sight of a black person.
Yeah.
I mean, how far behind could you possibly be in the culture to not realize that this is passé? It's beyond passé at this point.
It very much is.
I didn't even hear the audience during the recording laughing. And they have a sign that tells them to do that. Like, they weren't even finding this funny.
No, I think that's kind of, it goes without saying that these are just old rehash jokes.
Yeah.
I feel like that joke has been made on SNL multiple times in the past 10 years. I mean, when you're like, and especially considering you've got, at least, a third of America is like, no, I don't think that everybody that's a Donald Trump supporter is a racist. Probably more than a third, but at least a third. I mean, you kind of think that maybe you shouldn't dump on an entire,
on like 77 million people, I believe, total.
I mean,
more than that, maybe. I mean, I still remember the last time I think SNL like did a funny was having Trump on in 2015. And this was because they didn't take him seriously yet. They didn't take him seriously as a political candidate yet and still saw him as Trump the entertainer. And they allowed him to be that. I still remember that being so iconic.
He was doing the dance that he's so well known for.
Sort of like has the same gradient background that you have right now. Now that I remember it.
He does.
Dancing to Hotline Bling. When things were so simple.
Yeah.
It was such an innocent time, really, if you think about it. It's crazy to think that it was
okay to have fun. It was okay to have fun and be silly.
We have another 20 from Kevin Corbat. Mary shouting, "Is it working? Is it working?" is exactly how I feel 3 days into a 20-minute job on my car.
3 days. Condolences.
I do not envy you. Actually, the funniest moment of SNL 50 was them going through an in memoriam segment of all of their inappropriate racist and sexist jokes. They did like a 4-minute long reel of every offensive joke that they ever made on SNL as like kind of an apology, but kind of like we're admitting that it was funny, but we're not going to be funny anymore.
How far back did they go?
Like the whole history of the show.
Really?
They were showing like examples of like, ethnic tropes and sexual harassment and
did Pat make an appearance?
Every offensive I think there might have been
had to
a
be,
mention of
Pat. Pat was hilarious, and Pat is verboten now.
Well, now they've added Pat to the cast of SNL. I forget this person's name, but they identify as non-binary. We have a 20 from Jose Quintana.
You used to be a character.
Yeah, I know. Like, you literally used to be a fake character on SNL.
Character.
And now you're just one of the cast
members. And now
members.
People have to take you seriously.
How far we've fallen.
Hilarious.
Jose Quintana said, catching up, Captain Falcon was absolutely boring, left after 40 minutes. Empress, you are dead on right regarding 30 Rock. Perfect show. Fun fact, I have never watched a single SNL show ever. Long live PCC. I think I watched reruns growing up from like, the 80s and 90s, but never the new shit.
I've never
This is all they've got now.
Yeah.
And it's weird that they kind of did that in memoriam and everyone was laughing. Yeah. Everyone was laughing in the crowd, like laughing at themselves for having laughed at those jokes back when
remember when we used to be funny?
Right? And it's like, it's so easy. You could just do that again.
Yeah.
You could just do that again. And you're recognizing that you found it funny and that you still find it funny. So why can't we just cut our losses?
I mean,
We have another 20 from Paramount Majestic. Going to see the plot in your tonight in Denver. I listened to Anti-Fragile, and you have one of the top voices in metal today.
Thank you.
Epic screams and solid cleans. Metalcore looks good on you guys. You can see the hard work pay off.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of that record.
But yeah, I also saw this snippet from Vulture's piece on Lorne Michaels about his run-in with Taylor Swift, and maybe this was the beginning of the end for SNL when they realized they couldn't make jokes at the expense of entertainers anymore. They had to kind of build them up and be their cheerleaders instead.
Yeah, that's. I mean, well, the thing is, you can't make jokes at anyone's expense anymore. Like except for the politically acceptable. So that means you can caricature of a Trump supporter.
Thank you.
2 already. Mary's
I
just
think
raking in
the crisis meter is broken, guys. It's still at 0.
No, it just hit.
Thank you, though.
Well, it also works. It just doesn't show on the screen the actual thing I logged out. Yeah.
According to Vulture, Taylor Swift called SNL creator Lorne Michaels back in 2015 to ask him to kill off a sketch that was spoofing her Girl Squad that they asked her to appear in. His response was, "Taylor, I do not negotiate with terrorists." She was being tyrannical and expecting SNL to cater to her whims. The funny thing is, though, she could have been a good sport about it when they asked her to participate in the spoof. Like, that's all they were asking of her, and that's all that any celebrity entertainer can be asked to do is just be willing to be the butt of the joke sometimes. It's not that hard, but they're so narcissistic, and they've let it get to their heads so much that they're not able to participate in those jokes, and they have to make fun of who they believe is this, like, trailer park resident, hillbilly, evil, villainized Trump supporter.
And to think about it, these are all extremely wealthy people making fun of the working class, making fun of poor people. Like, this is acceptable. It's okay for everybody, and everybody in.
Oh, and making fun of religious people, because part of that Tom Hanks sketch was him saying, "Oh, we would all be better off if we went to church." Yeah.
As if the black community doesn't have like the largest portion that are devout, faithful and devout. Like you go, like the Black Baptist Church are like world renowned for their piousness and their belief in their religion. So there's that. But the fact that they're making fun of these people would swear up and down all day long that they love the working class and that the rich are evil, while they're the rich stepping all over the working class, because everyone in there is a wealthy person. Like, there's not a person in that building, even the people that are on the crew, make more money than the average person that lives in, down in the holler in Kentucky or whatever, right? And they're going to mock those people, and it's perfectly fine because they have the wrong political opinions. Even though those political opinions came from somewhere, they aren't just born with them. There's a reason, there's a quote unquote lived experience that these people have had that have made them think, you know what? The way politics have been for the past 15, 20 years, it's not working for me, and maybe Donald Trump can make things better for me. But, they're just rubes. They're doing it because they're racist, blah, blah, blah. It's the most despicable stuff you're going to see on network television.
I'm sure it varies based on the cast member, but I believe I saw the base pay for an SNL cast member is $3,000 per episode. Obviously it's weekly, so you can add it up, and that's just an unimaginable amount for most Americans, and they're being paid to write sketches like this that mock the working class. And one of these Swifties chimed in here and said, "Mind you, Taylor Swift sent Lorne Michaels flowers afterward to make sure they were still on good terms, even though he called her a terrorist." They say, decades into handling some of the biggest stars in the world, Lorne Michaels carries a certain swagger. In 2015, SNL reached out to Taylor Swift to ask if she would make a cameo in a sketch spoofing Swift's Girl Squad that suggested it was actually an apocalyptic cult. Michaels was in his office when Taylor Swift called him directly to say that not only would she not appear in the video, but she wanted Michaels to kill the sketch entirely. Michaels heard Swift out, but as he did, he picked up a piece of popcorn from the basket on his desk. "Taylor, I do not negotiate with terrorists," he said, before tossing the kernel into the air and catching it with his mouth. The video did air, and on Monday, Michaels found flowers at his office with a note from Taylor Swift saying, "I hope there's no bad blood."
Oh.
As far as I am concerned,
you know the
though,
song she did.
that bouquet of flowers was an emotional pipe bomb that he was sent. That was not a reaching out for goodwill gesture. That was
Emotional
entirely
pipe bomb.
about an intimidation tactic. And I know she wasn't a billionaire at the time, but current day billionaire Taylor Swift is no more willing to make fun of herself than she was 10 years ago, and none of these people are. That much is clear. I'm going to get into some super chats, though.
Yeah.
I'm not even done with SNL, by the way. We're going to get into more SNL stuff. Shane H. Wilder said, "It's Taco Tuesday, damn it. Too long without PCC.
Oh, you
My brain
missed
quit working. Mea culpa."
Last week, sorry for talking over you.
No, what's up?
Last week they had so much Taco Bell here, and everybody was talking about how you missed out and how they feel terrible. That means that you have to do more super chats, and you have to email Tim or go to the Discord and
tell him to order more
and
Taco
tell him
Bell
to order
for
Taco
me.
Bell for Mary.
I saw the
she's
notification on Slack, and I was like, it's
How
every
dare
time.
How
like
dare they?
every time that I'm out of town, it's just like pizza, burritos, like everything is shipped here immediately. It's like it's intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Duvier said, "Put a girl on. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you were there, Ghost Girl. Welcome back." Thank you for welcoming me back. I mean, the crisis parties are helping. I feel better already. This is actually curing my sickness. Weary Traveler said, "Our Lady of Taco Bell has returned." This is just how I'm going to be known now.
You absolutely are. I know you told me. What is your favorite Taco Bell thing?
It has to be the Crunch Wrap. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what else could it be?
Have you ever tried the steak quesadillas?
No, I don't get quesadillas there.
It's worth it, man.
Is it?
Next time you go.
You seem like one of the Power Bowl people.
I love the Power
You
Bowl.
love a burrito bowl.
I did. I used to love them, especially like I'd get them with no refried beans, but those are great. But like, I'm telling you, they put a sauce in the steak one, man. That is it's BA, man. It's BA.
BA, badass.
Yeah.
Is that it? I'm trying to keep up with the times. Kenneth Hart said, "I'm pleased to report that F1 Drive to Survive Season 7 releases March 7th. This year I want Trump at the Miami GP, and I want it full cheesy Americana after the tongue-lashing JD gave. Let's really rub it in."
Yeah.
So he gave some speech, right, in Europe? I don't know. I haven't really been keeping up with the news.
He did.
Lately.
And it was a good speech. It was very cool to hear him.
He called out Greta.
Yeah, he was. Look, there's some stuff going on in Germany that is very reminiscent of some stuff that went on in Germany post World War II for like 50 years or whatever. You know, if you say the wrong thing, well, actually, it wasn't just post World War II. It was leading up to World War II for a minute, and then it was a different team doing the same kind of stuff in Germany, in East Germany. But you know, like they will literally go to your house. 60 Minutes went with the German police to someone's house over a post on Facebook, and it's like, that's some Stasi stuff, man. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the stuff that East Germany was famous for during the whole Cold War, turning people in, and you know, you're not allowed to say this, not allowed to say that, and it's worth being like, hey, you know. The United States is, you know, historically we've sanctioned countries that do those kind of things. Like if you don't allow freedom for your people, and if you actually have like these kind of, you know, stifling of free speech, it's not unusual for the U.S. to be like, no, we're not going to actually align with you too closely, especially if you don't have oil. It's like this is normal for the U.S. to be like, hey, this is unacceptable. So, you know, J.D. Vance went over and actually called them out, and people are having feelings about that.
I've seen notices on tweets and on YouTube videos for quite a while saying, you know, this is firewalled in Germany because of its the offensive nature of this post. And I don't know if that's still what's going on X.
I've gotten emails saying that my tweet
that your tweet has specifically been banned in Germany.
Yeah.
And maybe a few other countries, but mainly them.
It's given me thoughts about touring Europe. There have been
Have you considered boycotting a tour date in Germany?
Never about boycotting. It's about, is it safe for us to go there? Because I've said things where it's like, okay, if someone decided to make some of my tweets, make the German police or
you'd be like criminally liable,
or English police in England, the UK, if someone decides they want to inform the police of my tweet history.
Well, they should just ban you before that even happens, and that would just make you seem cooler.
That would just seem cooler, though.
Zach Yandel said, "Hey, guess it's time to go to the gym."
It's always time to go to the gym.
Well, as long as you just keep watching the show while you're at the gym, then it's okay.
I have done that very thing myself. So
Shane H. Wilder said Brett got Mary sick and sabotaged the studio. It was all Brett all along.
Actually,
he was setting traps.
You guys haven't even laid eyes on each other in over a week, huh?
I guess not. Yeah, I was actually just like, I was deaf on Monday and Tuesday.
I'm so
then
sorry
I went out of town. You might have seen by now, I did an episode of Yes or No with Michael Knowles. That's going to be out sometime this month. Okay. There are a couple others that they're airing before.
What did you drink?
I had a gin and tonic.
Really?
Because that is my safety drink. That is my go-to drink. Is that
gin
surprising?
I mean, when I was drinking, I was never into gin because I didn't like the whole, whatever it's made of, the pine stuff.
I thought of going for a soju for my drink choice, but I thought, I'm going to be on camera, and when I drink soju, it's just like... It's different. That's dangerous. I can't be gambling. Zach Yandel said, Phil, have you ever seen those one-room apartments? If you have, any wild stories about small apartments? Do you have any wild stories about small apartments, Phil?
No.
Have you lived in a studio?
I mean, my apartment down here is like, there's one bedroom and then there's like one living room and kitchen.
But a
studio. No.
I wouldn't want to do that, and I'm pretty small as it is. Okay, we're going to jump back into SNL because I wasn't done there. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds made a new red carpet debut at SNL 50 in the midst of their legal battle against Justin Baldoni and also their PR downfall. I guess that their PR teams thought this was a chance for them to rehabilitate their image in some way. It accomplished the polar opposite of that objective in reality. Ryan Reynolds chose to participate in one of the jokes that they aired. He stood up in the middle of the crowd and they asked him, Ryan, how's it going? And he let's play this for everyone.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds. Hi. Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Yeah.
I have a question.
And you can also see
Ryan Reynolds.
Blake Lively's in the corner there staring at him, pretending to be shocked and afraid. And now Hollywood insiders feel that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' attendance at SNL 50 was not a good look, and they believe the couple should have sat this one out. The reality is this is just not a smart decision for them. Their legal team should have advised them that this was not a good look for them when it comes to their trial. Because one of the allegations that Blake Lively has made against Justin Baldoni is that he has wreaked havoc on her emotionally. One of the allegations is prolonged and serious emotional distress to the point where she can barely function, let alone get glammed up for a night out on the town in front of the cameras. So she's casting doubt on the very claims that she is making in her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni for workplace harassment and sexual harassment. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds celebs gossip about the couple amid Justin Baldoni drama. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ lots of stars who attended the SNL events on Sunday night were confused as to why Blake and Ryan appeared at the show while they battle it out in court with Justin Baldoni over the drama surrounding It Ends With Us. And one source who was at 30 Rock for the taping says Blake and Ryan were the talk of the entire evening and many people avoided them. Another source who attended following the show was overheard saying, who told them to come? And that's what I'm wondering, because it's not just, we hate Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and we don't want to see them anymore. It's like anyone who cares about you and your standing in your career and in your lawsuit would tell you that this is a bad idea. You're not gaining any favor with the public at large by doing this, because you're hanging out with all of these stars who you claim you were alienated from based on your treatment during the filming of this movie. But, you're also making a huge joke of the entire thing alongside your husband, who, I would assume that any woman's husband who knew that she had been terribly mistreated by her coworker/boss in any workplace situation, that if he knew that she had been sexually harassed and objectified and that there was an entire PR campaign coordinated against her to destroy her life, he would not think it's a laughing matter. And he would not participate in a massive scripted joke about the incident on live television in front of millions of people. I don't think that their emotional argument is compelling because of their own behavior, and it continues to be. One person pointed out, imagine claiming you're traumatized amid a mega lawsuit and then getting in full glam for a photo op for SNL. Another one said Blake Lively has a claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress against Justin Baldoni. This means she's saying she has long-term, extreme emotional distress over the events that occurred between them. Did no one tell Ryan Reynolds that making a joke referencing the litigation and all underlying events brings a legitimate question as to whether they are truly distressed by it? Yes, humor can be a way to deal with stress, anxiety, etc., and I'm not saying this kills their claim, but why risk it to play with that fire? If she was so destroyed by the alleged online smear campaign against her, how were they not only invited to this event, but picked up to have a feature in it, even if it's a small one? It calls into question her allegations that she was actually harmed professionally. So many of their decisions baffle me. Yeah, I mean, she's clearly still, alongside Ryan Reynolds, loved unanimously by their colleagues and equals in this industry. I know Justin Baldoni was not invited, and he was not invited to be part of any sketch related to this litigation, and he wouldn't think that it's funny anyway, so he wouldn't show up if invited. But she's out here smiling like nothing is going wrong, pretending everything is fine, and it calls into question, like, do they really understand the gravity of this situation? This is like $400 million we're talking about. That's more than, I think, both of their net worths.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it wasn't a good, actually, it clearly wasn't a good idea considering how engrossed people are with these types of stories nowadays. And I feel like just looking at the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp situation kind of should have told you it's best to keep your head down.
Yeah.
Because anytime, like, the internet was sleuthing on that like mad, and they've been sleuthing on this situation as well. So it's like, look, anytime you put your face out in public, the internet there's gonna be people that have things to say about it, and considering it doesn't take it doesn't take a lot of people that strongly disapprove of you and your behavior to make it seem like there's way more than a lot of people that strongly disapprove, right? Like, you get 1,000 people on X complaining about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and it seems like everyone on X hates Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. You know what I mean? If you, again, 1,000 people, which in the grand scheme of things is nothing, but it would seem like that's, it is a ubiquitous opinion. So it probably was a bad idea. I don't know why they did, why they decided to do this. I don't know why, decided to have them. It just seems like stupidity, or maybe it's hubris. Maybe they kind of felt like, oh, people just love us, and et cetera, and underestimated, again, the fact that even if they're right, that most people do really love them and don't care about this particular thing, All it takes is a handful of dedicated, really upset people to make it seem like everybody hates you.
We have a 20 from Fred Swexican 74. Mary, you are awesome. Thanks for coming in when still not 100%. Your 50% is 100% to most, so don't ever worry. Thanks, and look forward to covering Blake's addendum whenever that happens. Sure to stir things up. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I have been ruminating on this lawsuit more and more, and I'm starting to think that the Johnny Depp Amber Heard lawsuit really primed people for a situation like this. Even if this sentiment among normies isn't like anyone even cares, let alone they hate Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Online, you see a concentration of people who do care about it, know every detail, and they have chosen who is the villain in this story. And it's them. And I just think I can't really feel bad for either side. I've noticed a lot of people are kind of villainizing Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and they are lionizing Justin Baldoni. But having watched through and covered the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation back when that was going down, I realized I didn't take either side in that either. I didn't particularly, I'm not some kind of Johnny Depp stan. I wasn't like emotionally invested in that. And it was also harder to make jokes about it because the nature of the allegations was so much more grave, involving domestic violence and sexual assault rather than workplace hostility. And I feel like it's such a mythological tale. Like, it's like the downfall of Ryan Reynolds for being the wife guy who is just gonna back up his wife's bullshit on every occasion, no matter how insane it is. And he's going to stake his entire career on her bullshit at this point. But it's also the downfall of a male feminist in Hollywood, which is Justin Baldoni. And I can't help but feel
Baldoni's a male feminist?
Very vocally and strongly a male feminist. A dyed-in-the-wool male feminist.
So for a while, I was like, well, maybe it's not good that, that Ryan Reynolds and his wife were kind of picking on this dude. But now I think they didn't do it enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's gratuitously vocal about his feminist stances, and he has a podcast about undefining masculinity.
Oh God, I didn't know about this.
And he has a book, and it's his whole brand. It's his whole brand.
Blake Lively didn't do enough. They should have bullied him more. No matter what they did, they didn't do enough because he shows his face in public. F that guy. So, I can't sympathize.
No. I really can't. You're asking for it at that point. And that's the entire reason why he, took the IP to direct this movie, because it was his activist movie. It's it's about advocating for women. And that's his entire brand.
Good grief.
I see that it's only his just desserts to face the consequences of really standing by your feminist ideology, right? Like, this is actually the martyr death of a male feminist who truly believes in what he's saying. Because most of them don't, right? Most of the male feminists, they don't really believe what they're saying.
No, they're just trying to get laid.
They're hoping to get laid, and they're paying lip service to something they don't really understand. Justin Baldoni, on the other hand, seems like a true believer through and through when he talks about this stuff. And I somehow respect that even less than the men who are pretending to be feminists sex. It's like even worse than that. And now I feel perhaps it's poetic justice that this all happened. However, he is going to come out on top. I'm confident in that. And he does have the facts on his side. But maybe he doesn't deserve to have this groundswell of support from people who largely find his ideological stances repugnant, including myself. Like, most of his support online, as it's been pointed out, it's from right-wing people who generally are not sympathetic to Me Too claims. And
Baldoni's?
Yes.
His support is from right-wing people?
He is getting most of his support from people who ostensibly align themselves with the right, because they're the only people who have known for years that Me Too is something that is deserving of your skepticism at the very least.
Okay, so well, but wait a minute. Blake Lively's not making a Me Too claim, is she?
It is a Me Too claim if it involves sexual harassment, and it's also a Mean Too claim because she's like, he was a big meanie jerk face to me, so he was creating a hostile work environment, and technically on paper he was her boss, despite the fact that she had way more power in this situation, being as famous as she is, and him being basically a breakout star with this movie. Justin Baldoni must feel uncomfortable with the fact that a bunch of anti-feminist right-wingers are the ones who are coming out to defend him online. But hopefully that can be a moment of growth and a humbling experience for him if this all turns out right. I can't imagine that wouldn't cause you to question your core values at that point. Like, question the fact that you've been a feminist your entire adult and public life.
How embarrassing.
I would certainly hope so. And I did actually, while I was out of town, finally get around to watching It Ends With Us. I didn't think I ever would, but I love watching movies on planes because I don't have to pay for it, and it's just a way. It's just a way to, you know, spend the time in a way that is technically productive because I can use it for content.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did watch It Ends With Us on the plane.
That's what I tell my girlfriend when I'm tweeting. When I'm laying in bed at like midnight,
It's
1
work.
o'clock, and I'm on Twitter. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like,
It's overtime.
I'm literally working.
The
I'm
ad
at work.
revenue,
Yeah.
you know, it adds up.
Like
babe.
legit. Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
all right. Pays for my new car.
So I was working on the plane, and you know, I really tried to judge this movie on its own merits instead of letting myself like think about the lawsuit. And it was just not good. I'm sorry. The movie was just not good. I got most of the way through it, and I was like, wait, Justin Baldoni's character isn't even abusing her. Like, when does that start? Is that crazy of me to say? I was watching through, and I guess they're supposed to make you question yourself in the audience as, you know, am I misinterpreting that interaction? Did I make excuses for his behavior? So that's, you know, the artful way that they decided to write it. But there was another character that people don't know about who plays Blake Lively's character's high school boyfriend. They actually do cut like flashback scenes to when Blake Lively's character was in high school and she was dating this guy who was totally perfect for her. He had a heart of gold, but he was homeless. I'm not kidding. He was homeless. She gets with a homeless guy in high school, and he's so sweet to her. He's the perfect guy. And her dad, who is a psychopath, one day discovers that she has been harboring him in her bedroom and beats him up, and he gets carted away in an ambulance. They go no contact eventually. They grow apart. And then she finds him again in their hometown of Boston, and he's a successful restaurateur. And, you know, she's on a date with her new abusive husband at this restaurant, and they come across each other, and he sees that, you know, this guy is toxic, and then they get into a fight. And long story short, she stays with the abusive guy. She ends up getting pregnant with his kid.
Of course she does.
And as soon as she finds out she's pregnant, they are separated. But she gives birth in the movie, and then as soon as she hands over the baby for Justin Baldoni's character to hold the baby for the first time, she says, "I want a divorce." That's when she finally makes the decision to cut him off. And, you know, she tells him, like, well, what would you tell our daughter if she was with a guy like you? You would tell her to leave him and never speak to him again. So you can't blame me. And then I guess the epilogue to all of this is that she walks into a farmer's market and crosses paths with this high school boyfriend again. And she's like, "Are you single? Are you seeing anybody?" And then they end up together.
Wow.
She has the abuser's child, and then her high school ex-boyfriend adopts
I love what it's like telling young girls they can do. It's like, oh, you can just totally ruin your life and have like a homeless guy live inside your house, and it's all good. Don't worry about it. Nothing's gonna happen to you. Just make sure that you run into him at the right time later on in your life when it's convenient for you, and then you decide, hey, actually, now remember how I didn't give you a chance? It just screams. What's the movie? Forrest Gump. It just screams Forrest Gump and Jenny vibes, where she just shows up. Hey, I have like one of the worst communicable diseases like any human can get, and yet hey. What's up? Marry me. Now that's convenient for me.
And then he's all for it in the movie. The guy finds her again, and he just falls in love with her all over again.
Was he a special needs man like Forrest was?
No, he had his wits about him.
At least Forrest had an excuse,
Yeah, it's for that.
So I mean, he's the good guy in the movie,
and he's not even homeless. Forrest
is loaded.
Like, this guy is a loser. Like, why is she? Oh my god.
Well, he ends up being successful, and she finds him again as soon as he's successful in his own right in the movie.
That are just not making sense for me.
But the actor who played the good guy in the movie has been asked for his take on the lawsuit. Thank you. Dance break, real quick. So this actor, his name is Brandon Sklenar? I don't know. That sounds like some kind of medical condition. He was asked for his own personal take on the litigation between his co-stars. And, it's funny because as Blake Lively first launched her claims against Justin Baldoni, he completely took Blake Lively's side. But now that the internet changed its mind and started looking into the facts of the case and defending Justin Baldoni because those facts do not support Blake Lively's story and her narrative, now he's stepping back and he's like, hey, I don't take sides. I just like the movie, whatever. So the truth is he did some snake shit to Justin Baldoni.
Ooh.
He was praising and thanking Justin right up until Blake Lively's lawsuit dropped. And at the same time, just happened to sign with the same PR management company as Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. He is a real piece of shit. And in a new interview, he said, when they asked him, are you team Blake or are you team Justin? He said, I'm team It Ends With Us. I just want people to remember why we made the movie in the first place and what it stands for. And just keep focusing on that. Yeah. That movie just meant so much to me. Wow. So, he threw the director of the movie completely under the bus. Yeah. When it was fashionable to do so. And as soon as the tides turned and people were shitting on Blake Lively, he distanced himself from his original statements in support of her in order to seem like he was Switzerland. That's some bullshit right there. I want to read some super chats though. Boombox said, yawn, are we surprised Hollywood is trashing the right? Mary, good to see you back. Also, Blake's face to Ryan's response was priceless. I mean, I think that was scripted too. Like, her reaction to Ryan, like, saying, what have you heard? That was scripted as well. But, yeah, it's not a moment that will age well. Shane H. Wilder said, am I the only one who doesn't like Tom Hanks as an actor? I can count the movies I like on one hand, and they are good in spite of Hanks. Yeah. What has he been in, though?
What has he been in?
Castaway.
I'm trying to remember, because it's been so long since I've watched any Tom Hanks movies.
Saving Private Ryan, Castaway.
Yeah, I just used a reference for Forrest Gump. I just used the Forrest Gump reference for him.
I mean, he's been in a lot of, like, in my opinion, really good movies.
But he never really stood out to me as, like, an amazing performer. I don't know. I'm just really thinking about the creepy stuff, like Big.
I just know. I only think Tom Hanks is big because of.
You think that was creepy?
Chet. I think Tom Hanks is made by Chet Hanks.
Do you think
cooler because of him?
Do you think Big was creepy, Serge?
Kind of. I thought it was kind of weird.
Do you think Big was creepy? Seems like you don't.
Weird.
Not really. I didn't think it was creepy. No.
There's like a scene where he's still a kid in Tom Hanks's body, and then he hooks up with the chick. That's really creepy.
I don't think it's creepy.
You don't think that's creepy? No. She knew, by the way.
And
he's like, what is he in his mind? He's like 9 years old or something. It's been a long time since I watched that movie. That's really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have had scenes that were a little off-putting, but I think that the concept, because there was that show Freaky Friday. What Big was not the first time of like body, adults switching with children and stuff. Because the point of it, whereas I understand, especially in today's context, that is something that people are going to really notice. But I think in context, it kind of just, that part just kind of slid by where people didn't really think about it. And the concept of having an adult and a child experience the other's life so they can understand what it's like to be the other one is something that was the most prominent part of those movies. So
I did watch it as a kid, so I don't know how I'd react to it watching it for the first time now, but I don't remember finding it creepy at first.
Yeah.
Only when it was pointed out to me later on did I realize that that's kind of effed
and
up.
I think that the way that they did it made it is part of why, like, it is why it didn't strike you initially, because honestly I didn't think about that scene until you mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. And yeah, I get why people might be like that.
Especially knowing the rumors that go around about Tom Hanks.
So
I don't know how I feel about that.
Those rumors are, I mean, I've only heard those rumors in the past couple of years, as it's like the idea that kind of stuff is more prominent than you thought is a. And again, I'm not saying that it's not true or anything, or that I don't believe it, or that I have a strong opinion on it, because I don't know, because I've only heard rumors on the internet, and rumors on the internet are just that, rumors on the internet. But considering there are people that believe that anyone that they see basically on the internet, like anyone they see, there are people that say that, oh, Phil must have had. Phil must have known like Epstein because he's in a metal band. They're literally like, oh, he's in a band.
People say
and
that.
People because there are people that look. Wow. At the end of the day, there are ideas that are somewhat sophisticated or nuanced, that when you give these ideas to people that are unsophisticated, they simply say, person that I kind of don't like in a position that I perceive as a position of success, they must have got there through nefarious means. It can't be that they actually did anything good. Even when they're dealing with what amounts to, a heavy metal, a guy in a heavy metal band, which, I mean, do you think I'm hanging out with billionaires? Like, really? So
you might now, actually, nowadays, doing more political commentary.
Yeah, it's more likely that I'll be in the room with billionaires nowadays than coming up as a writing The Fall of Ideals.
I would encourage you still to watch our conspiracy video about Tom Hanks after this show is over, to make up your own mind, crisis actors.
So, but yeah, again, back to the topic. I don't think that like that. It didn't occur to me, or it wasn't something that you really noticed. And like I said, things like the whole switching, the prominence of the story was about the switching, so that one person could experience the life of another. What it's like to live another person. Because you heard the saying, walk a mile in other people's shoes, etc. So
we have another 20 from Meredith Marks. The Burbs, check it out.
The Burbs is a good movie. The Money Pit is a good movie. Tom Hanks actually has a quite long.
Mail.
You've Got Mail is a good movie. You Got Mail is kind of just When Harry Met Sally, but starring Tom Hanks. But
Kevin Corbat said, update from last super chat: the Chevy Cruze has been demoted to a Chevrolet Cruised. Bye bye, you glorious crap box.
Condolences.
R.I.P. Ulvin McGoth said, mental slop news. I love it. You're welcome, and I love it just as much. Surinko Productions said, the only SNL performance I remember is Lana Del Rey's iconic, I hope I got the claps right, blue jeans performance that was randomly introduced by Harry Potter.
I really like Lana Del Rey.
Do you remember that? She was absolutely raked over the coals for that.
I did not see it, no.
I'm pretty sure that her explanation for it, a lot of people thought that she was putting on a bad performance for attention, but her explanation was literally that she was just like nervous because she was on TV. Like, that's so endearing, actually. And she is a good singer, for what it's worth. Pop Culture Junkie said, Mary, glad to see that you're back. Hope you recover to 100% soon. I'm certainly trying. But I was just hoping my voice would be back to normal by now, and it's not. It's
it
not
actually
quite there.
sounds better the longer the stream goes on. When I walked
I'm
in, I was
clearing
like,
my
when I walked in, you were
talk.
like, oh, you're effed.
Yeah, it's not great. Shane H. Wilder said, Mary, March 4th is Live Moss Live, where they'll announce the new products. We need representation at the convention. This is our E3 convention. This truly is. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the time is gonna conflict with the show, but I will be keeping up with that.
Yeah, The Green Mile, Catch Me If You Can.
They kind of
really good movies.
They can't top the Cheez-It Crunch Wrap though, or at least what the Cheez-It Crunch Wrap was supposed to be in theory.
What do you mean?
It's a giant cheese.
No, I mean, what do you mean? Why are you saying what it mean? What it's supposed
to be?
Are you talking about
it was
people that
supposed
poorly...
to be crunchy and it was mushy and it just wasn't. It wasn't giving what it was supposed to give. It's fine. I still ate plenty of Cheez-It Crunch Wraps.
I am of the opinion that if you take any fast food stuff, right, made the way that they must have made it when they were testing it, right? So everything's fresh. They put it together. And it's like here, it's all almost all awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure that the Cheez-It Crunch Wrap that they made in the Taco Bell laboratory was fantastic, but it was not when I got it. Pete Donovan said, happy SurgeCast PCC Tuesday. Crisis actors and surge protectors of the world unite. Let's go. Also, Phil, have you ever successfully changed someone's mind on the evils of property taxes? I mean, there's no one out here like going to bat for property taxes, is there?
Well, I mean, the only people that go to bat for property taxes are people that are doing a knee-jerk reaction. Like, they're like, oh, well, you need to have, you need to have these because we live in a society, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, look, nobody likes property taxes. Like, as a concept, they're bad because you literally never own your property. You have to pay a tax on it just to have, to keep possession of your property. So I don't think that I've ever had to convince anyone that they're evil, but I don't think that I've ever actually interacted with anyone that's like, no, man, I love them.
I stan property taxes. I don't know how I feel about them, but I'm not going to argue with you either. Okay, we're going to shift gears. I felt that this was particularly appropriate with Phil joining the show today because it's related to music, kind of. Linkin Park singer Chester Bennington has a son, at least what was once referred to as a son, named Draven Sebastian Bennington.
Oh, no. Is it trans?
Yeah. Over Valentine's Day weekend, Draven made the announcement on social media that she identifies as a trans woman now and is in the process of transitioning medically. So I wanted to look into the heartfelt statement that everyone was gushing about. I found it on Instagram, on Draven's Instagram. It says, Happy Valentine's Day. As today is a day to celebrate love and what love truly means, whether it's for a partner, family, or ourselves, Valentine's Day was never about self-love. I thought it would be the perfect time to show some love to myself. For a long time, I tried to be someone I truly wasn't on the inside.
No, you really were.
Ignoring it worked for a while, but continuously coming to the crossroads of being happy or being complacent was one I couldn't keep crossing. Okay, I just have noticed, this is a complete tangent, people just don't know how to write coherent English sentences anymore. That makes no sense. In August of last year, I decided to take the path of happiness and being true to myself. I came out as transgender and started hormone replacement therapy, and it has been the best decision I have ever made in my life. I do have to say, I am very blessed to be able to do this, as well as having such supportive family and friends. I love each and every one of you who have shown me nothing but love and respect and see me for who I truly am. Especially Mom, you've always unconditionally loved me. I am so blessed to be your child. Love you to the moon and back. With all the support and love I've received, I've built the strength to love myself. This is why I'm choosing to no longer hide who I am. Love is love.
What?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Non sequitur with love is love at the end there. Doesn't make any sense. And then he also points out clearly who his abuser was during that, talking about his mom. And then he also, I don't think you mentioned it, it was written on this like really cringe, like faux cursive black and white picture with like
Right. Like, what is this
it's
template,
just
bro?
really
A woman would
weird.
never post a template that looks that bad.
This is like worse than Canva, dude. This is terrible. Like, I don't know where you made
You're like
this,
using
but-
your free trial on Canva.
Ugh, especially mom. Dude, okay. Like we totally understand your situation. Like I get that you're reference to especially your mom, but like
Now, obviously, almost all of
Gross.
Draven's followers on social media are fans of Linkin Park and are mainly fans of his late father, who died by suicide back in 2017. And it is crazy to think about how long ago that was. This is how I know I'm actually getting old, because I was chatting with Tim somewhat recently about Chris Cornell. And I was like, oh, he didn't even die that long ago. And he was like, no, it was like a decade ago. What are you talking about? And I looked up the year and I was like, wait, that was actually like 2017. Like, that was a long time ago. And I'm losing track of time. But, you know, as time has passed since Chester Bennington's death, the legacy that he left just continues getting tarnished. And this is yet another example of that. To most people who are applauding this in the comment section, that probably would sound completely heartless of me to say. And I don't care. It's a huge disrespect and dishonor to his dad to post and make such a show of this. But I saw one of these comments said, "Congratulations, girl. I'm also trans and just a few years older than you. I didn't know your father, but I knew his music, and it helped me in staying alive during the years before I had access to HRT. Being able to witness Linkin Park in 2025 as a medically transitioning man is a privilege, and knowing that one of my trans sisters lives and thrives in the very family of the man whose art helped me not give up is so heartwarming. Keep shining." I want to understand like the mind of someone who could write out an earnest comment like that. Most people wouldn't want to understand that, but I guess I'm a little bit loopy, and I want to know what your thought process is. Meanwhile, you know that the singer of Life of Agony identified as trans for a very long time, and only just recently announced that he is detransitioning and no longer identifies as a woman. And they've faced significant backlash for that.
Of course.
People are like selling their merch. They like don't want to be associated with
River
this
Runs
band
Red
anymore.
is still one of the best records to come out in the 90s. I don't care.
I mean, the people who are like skeptical of gender ideology and these things never boycotted Life of Agony in the first place.
Nope.
Because they're just normal people who listen
Yup.
to music that they like. But now the people that, you know, stand that band for specifically the reason that it's the front man was a front trans woman, they're disassociating themselves from it.
I saw it like
as a protest.
We played a festival that Life of Agony was playing in Switzerland, and Mina was up there talking and sounded somewhat feminine and was getting heckled. And for just a second, Keith came back and was like, "Would you like some? You want to go?" And like was ready to fight some dudes that were heckling him. And as soon as they shut up, Mina came back. So
Right? It's
literally, I mean, it was like
awfully convenient.
if you've ever heard Keith or Mina talk, very Brooklyn, very New York, very strong accent, and like I said, like Mina was talking, and then Keith popped up for a second to lay it down, and then Keith went away, and Mina came back. It was hilarious. But I mean, I loved Life of Agony ever since River Runs Red. I even thought Ugly was great. Weeds is a killer song. I was a fan the entire time, and then when Keith decided to come back full time, I was like, good on you, because you could see if you like, I'd followed Mina for ages and ages on Instagram and stuff. And you could see the cracks beginning, particularly with the whole, like, the way that the LGBT lobby has been targeting children and stuff. Like, Mina wasn't having it. And
Keith wasn't having it either.
Keith clearly was not having it. But Mina wasn't. Mina was, like, very critical of the LGBT lobby and saying, you know, look, it took me a long time to be comfortable saying this, and now I see what's going on, and blah blah blah. And you know, I was never critical of Mina. It was like, look, you know, you do what you want to do, and the way that Mina behaved, I didn't have a problem with it. Just like I don't have a problem with, like, Blair White or whatever. It's like, if you want to live your life like that, that's fine. I don't care. But it is nice to see that, you know, see people saying, look, the way that the trans community has been behaving is actually destroying people's lives and stuff. So
is he going by the male name Keith now?
Keith
or
removed the
with
boobs and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's intense.
Yep.
It's almost more horrifying than just continuing to live what you know is a lie, is like having to go back on it. But what's wild is about the situation is the media is still referring to Keith as Mina and refusing to go back. Yeah. They're like dead naming him
Hotel California, man,
with his female name.
You can check out, but you can never leave.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Once you've crossed over, it's like, oh.
And, you know, I cannot help but think this identity crisis that Draven Bennington has had for these so many years has something to do with not growing up with his father anymore. Like the loss of a father figure.
Yeah.
And that could definitely, almost certainly, made him question, like, the meaning of his identity as a man and what masculinity is. And truthfully, he was abandoned by that tragic situation. So I find it hard to...
How old is Draven?
22?
22. It says 22 in the article.
I believe that was Chester Bennington's first child in 2002 with his first wife.
Yep, that's what it says.
He has 4 other children with different women, but... yeah, I mean, it's a sad situation, and it's like not even the only blemish on Linkin Park. I mean, I feel like what's happened to the band with replacing with the new vocalist Emily Armstrong, that was unfortunate.
That's one thing, but it's not comparable to this, I don't think.
Well, you called it something interesting I hadn't heard before. You said they're femme washing.
Oh, pink washing.
Or pink washing?
Yeah.
They're pink washing these bands that used to have male leads.
These are guy spaces, all right? Can you females just please, like, see your way out of these places?
So
guys positions,
All That Remains had a female bass player from 2005 until 2015, right? We never made a thing about it because we didn't want to be that band.
Because it doesn't matter, right? The music doesn't matter.
Yeah, it literally, like the conversations, like before, you know, when we were talking about having, you know, whether Jeannie was going to join the band, you know, we were all like, we don't want to be that band that has the female bass player. And she was like, I don't want to be that girl in the band. Nice. And we were like, okay, that's cool. And so she just joined the band, and we never talked about it. Like, it was never a thing, right? Never, ever. For a decade, Jeannie was our bass player. That's the way that it was. There was no, I mean, we looked at her like a little sister, you know, and we treated her like family, but it was like, you know, it's not a thing that we're going to make a big deal about. We're not going to try and make her. Sure. She was very nondescript. She's kind of built like you, like little, and it was hilarious.
Said that I remind you of her before.
Yeah, you do. She never wore skirts. So that was a thing. She was like, I don't want to wear skirts because people would talk. People would be down front and they would say stuff, and, you know, because dudes are dudes. And we never did that. We were never like, oh, we want it to be a thing. And, you know, when when she decided to leave and go about the rest of her life, like, we got a guy. Was that blue washing? You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's different though, because imagine if you like died, or if you quit. And you were, I guess, if you quit, theoretically, if you were okay with them continuing the band without you, I doubt you would be okay with that. If they replaced you with a female vocalist, that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true. But again, Mary and I were talking about this beforehand, and I kind of want to get what you hear what you think about this search because I'm not sure if you were if you heard us or whatever. But because Linkin Park was not the Chester Bennington show, right? He was not the only vocalist. Mike Shindoa was doing the rap all the time. Yeah. The band was not about this one guy. I feel like that's part of why it's okay to have the female in. I am not a massive Linkin Park fan, so I don't have an emotional reaction to them replacing Chester. Sure. I didn't cry when Chester passed away. I was like, oh, that sucks, you know. But suicide is something that you tend to hear about in the music industry and stuff. That unfortunately, that's something that happens. So I wasn't like, oh, you know, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. How could you do this? I was like, well, if she sounds good, and to me, she sounds fine. Yeah, you know, she doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound like they're trying to shove it in there. Ooh, there's a $50 one there.
From Nate Parrott. Sorry, off topic. Can't guarantee Tim will see a super chat during Timcast. Ohio neo-Nazis were confronted by protesters on the cop body cam. You could tell all neo-Nazis were uniformly in shape with new matching clothes and face masks all.
Dude, that reminds me of that scene in Blues Brothers where he says, who are they? The Ohio Nazis? He's like, I hate Ohio Nazis. Or I think it's Illinois Nazis in the movie. I don't know if anyone remembers Blues Brothers.
Skokie, Illinois, probably. They probably said Illinois Nazis.
Right, yeah, Nate Parrott added, I smell feds. Yeah, I mean, you're not alone in that. One person in the chat said, it's not okay. This is me calmly saying it's not okay to replace the murdered band member with a chick.
I mean. Yeah,
Wait, are they referring to Chester Bennington?
I don't think Chester was murdered.
He was not murdered. I don't know if there are people online who believe that.
They might have been referring to someone else.
Okay. But I did see Chester Bennington's other son blast Mike Shinoda for replacing his dad with Emily Armstrong. His son Jamie posted on his Instagram story, said people aren't having a difficult time wrapping their heads around the prospect of Linkin Park reinventing itself. They're having a hard time wrapping their head around how you hired your friend of many years to replace Chester Bennington. He said that they quietly erased his father's life and legacy in real time with the replacement of Emily.
I don't know about that.
They've refused to acknowledge the impact of hiring someone like Emily. Perhaps that is referring to the fact that she is a Scientologist.
Yeah, I think
which raises its own issues.
That's what I hear. That's what the people that are most vocal about the replacement. And whether or not that is actually the motivating factor or not, I can't speak for them, but that's what they say is the motivating factor, that it's like, well, it's not just that it's a girl, she's a Scientologist and da-da-da.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I mean...
Valid!
You know,
this
Scientology
is like
is a little
not
weird.
a good reason to not associate with someone. I feel like, you know what? No, I would be friends with a Scientologist. I might not work with a Scientologist. Like stake my career on a Scientologist being trustworthy, but I would be friends with one. Okay, let's read some super chats. Corn Pop said, "Mary, I'm back. Rolled a joint. Marry me." I don't know what any of that means.
This is marry me, I think.
Like my name. Yeah, no. Yeah, Pop Culture Junkie said Reynolds lively ignored the advice of their crisis PR team and attended the SNL 50th anyway. I mean, could they really be that stupid?
Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
That their own PR team that they have paid to tell them, you know, to give them advice on these things, they're just going to ignore them and do what they want anyway. Okay, fine. Don't have PR management then. Yeah. Just fire them if you're going to do stupid shit because you want to. Kenneth Hart said, Euro's so mad at Trump being on Paddock last year. Weeks of crying online, F1 as everything Euro culturally survives because Americans took an interest. That Formula One is European, isn't it?
I think so. I think originally.
Generally, yeah. Huh. There's a lot of Europeans that do Formula One. NASCAR is generally U.S. racing.
Jesse Saxon said Cruncher Wins got kicked out of the local... is this Kentucky? Taco Bell? A hired transformer harassed me and then manager lady threatened with violence. No raps for me. Viva Mexico.
Live Moss.
I would have loved to see that on video, man. Boombox said it's not support for him, but against Hollywood. Right, exactly. I mean, there are people coming out to support Justin Baldoni, but they see it more as a proxy war against, I guess, people like Blake Lively and people like Ryan Reynolds and what they stand for and how fake everyone in Hollywood is, and they're kind of the epitome of that.
It's Hollywood, guys.
Yeah.
Their job is to be fake.
Yeah, I mean, acting is tough. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it is pretending.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's like professional LARPing.
If you're good enough at LARPing, you can get paid millions of dollars to do it, and that's fine.
This is true.
Thank you guys. How many crisis parties have happened so far? I've completely
I can pull
lost
it up
track.
and look here.
4.
Shane H. Wilder.
I think 4.
4?
Yeah,
okay.
4.
Well, I'm sure we'll get to 5 by the end of the show. Shane H. Wilder said, I'm going to get edgy, but it must be said. Male feminists are only trying to get laid, not realizing that their low T energy causes a barren womb. Well, I mean, some of them really believe it, though. Like, I would assess Justin Baldoni at first as being a fake male feminist who's just trying to get laid. But as I've, learned more about him and his public history of speaking on these issues and being a mouthpiece for it and writing a whole book on it and having a podcast about it and like challenging masculinity or whatever, I think he is a true believer. That's even more sick than using it as a ploy, right? Aaron P. said, Mary, blame it all on birth control. You know you want to. Lol. Blame what on birth control?
Just everything.
Okay, whatever it was that I was pointing out before, let's just blame it on birth control. Dr. Larsena said, Mary's base take on that Blake snake. Nailed it. Phil's thoughtful response to my off-the-wall question. Insightful. This is why I keep tuning in. Well, thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being here. We are not done yet, though. I actually just wanted to use this opportunity as another soapbox, because I've noticed a new trend in films. I think that movies are starting to reflect the shifting cultural and sexual mores of the day. And currently, I think Hollywood's fascination is with age gap relationships in which the woman is older and she is with a younger man. I've come across far too many examples of this to just count it out as a fluke thing. This is a trend that's been remarked upon in the media as...
Who's writing these movies?
I mean, that's a good question. We can get into all of the examples here. A24 is a big culprit, but last year, The Ringer published 2024 is officially the year of ladies getting laid. Ugh. And this is referring to the trend of movies in which older women are hooking up with younger men. That would be more appropriately labeled the year of old ladies getting laid. And the most recent example of that is a movie from A24 called Baby Girl, starring Nicole Kidman. And in this movie, from what I can tell, I have not watched and I do not plan to, not even on a plane. Nicole Kidman plays this high-powered CEO, and she's in charge in every facet of her life, and she's super uptight and scary looking, and she has Botox in every inch of her face, and she ends up having an affair with a younger intern at her company who's played by Harris Dickinson. And it turns into this whole sordid thing. It's focusing on reversing the power dynamics that she usually is in her day-to-day life as this CEO. And there's a weird scene that people kept talking about where the young intern forces her to drink milk. I don't know. And this really struck a chord with people. It really, Like it's from what I can tell performed well in the box office. I was surprised that it was released theatrically and not on streaming as well, but it has gotten a significant amount of attention. And I just think that movies like this are getting released now because people are looking for some kind of outlet. I wouldn't say it's the most constructive outlet or coping mechanism out there, but a lot of women are the target demographic for a movie like that and would never admit to themselves that there is something appealing or titillating about the premise based on their own lives and based on the messages that they have been inundated with, which is, you know, be a girl boss, be self-empowered, run your own shit, make your own money, and, you know, be a boss babe. So then they're turning to entertainment like this and a story like this, immersing themselves in it as sort of the opposite of a power fantasy. Like, men don't really understand this because men just have power fantasies, but I guess what's being sold to women in a movie like this Nicole Kidman Baby Girl is like an inverted power fantasy because her character is extremely high powered and I guess needs to let out her like vulnerability in some sordid way behind closed doors.
Is there a broad fan base that's looking for this?
I mean, yeah, like from what I can tell, like the discourse was very loud as Baby Girl came out, and it did well for a movie of its size and its budget in the box office. It definitely was received well. And I know A24 is known for movies like this. I think they were responsible for one called Two Mothers, which is from back in 2013. It's a movie about two moms who go on a vacation at a lake house with their young adult sons, and each, like, the moms like hook up with each other's sons. This is yet another reason why I despise A24 and the fact that there is a whole fan base for this film studio that like things like that. We have a 20 from Pat the Plumber. Will we get Serge every time Brett's away? If so, how do we get Brett more vacation time? Oh, hi, Mary. Nice to have you back. See, they love you, Serge. They're showing you some
Thanks,
love and
y'all.
support. They know you need it. And then last year, there was another movie called The Idea of You, starring Anne Hathaway. And her love interest is played by Nicholas Galitzine. I've seen more and more about that actor. But she plays a 40-year-old single mom who ends up dating a pop star in his 20s. And I think it's inspired by Harry Styles' real romance with Olivia Wilde while they were filming Don't Worry Darling. And it's basically a Harry Styles fan fiction for old single moms. And in the movie, she even has a teenage daughter who's like a fan of this pop star, which complicates things even further. And the whole, from the scenes that I watched to get a sense of it, I'm not even remotely interested in wasting 2 hours of my life on this.
Aww.
From the scenes I saw, the whole premise of it is that she's just like, but like, how could you like me? I'm so old. And then he's like, I don't care. Like, you're hot. And that's the whole thing. Like, that's the whole, and you can see how that has an audience, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. I imagine if the audience is really, you know, women that are middle-aged and single that don't want to, you know, that want to do the whole like Peter Pan thing or whatever, you know, like extend their youth. I guess that would make sense. Yeah,
there's like a Peter Pan syndrome for women that's cropping up, and it's not being referred to in such a derogatory way, but it should be.
I mean, well, that's essentially the same thing. You know, like men can get away with that because male biology is different than female biology, because men and women are different.
They are.
Yeah.
It's crazy how so many people still get all worked up and get their panties in a bunch about this.
Well,
It's
I mean,
true.
the thing is, you know, women look at it and say, well, it's unfair. or not all women, but some women. And, you know, maybe if you were like, hey, I want to, you know, I want to extend my childhood, you know, I guess this kind of fantasy, would it be appealing?
Well, I guess when you refer to Peter Pan syndrome in men, you are talking about like a man-child, like someone who wants to just be a kid forever.
Yeah.
But what the I guess the corollary for women is not really that. It's not really being a woman child. It's about living in perpetual denial of the fact that you're not in your sexual prime anymore.
Oh, I was gonna say cradle robbing, but that's another way to say that. You can say that too.
I mean, thank God these movies are actually about at least like men in their 20s, not like actual cradle robbing.
At least they're literally overage.
But this is not something that you see very often in real life, and there are plenty of good reasons for that. Right. Another example was Lonely Planet, which came out in 2024. I was surprised that I didn't hear about this, but it was starring Laura Dern and Liam Hemsworth. And the plot revolves around a successful novelist, played by Laura Dern, who meets and forms an unexpected connection with a younger man, played by Liam Hemsworth, at a writer's retreat. The film offers a visually appealing setting, though some critics found the chemistry between the leads lacking, and they found the plot predictable. They explore themes of identity and self-worth within relationships. This just sounds dreadfully boring, and yet there is a cottage industry for films like this, and it seems like they're easily getting funding and marketing. Another one I saw starring Nicole Kidman, like she's a repeat offender at this point, is called A Family Affair, and her love interest in that movie from last year is Zac Efron, and it says it revolves around a widowed writer named Brooke who begins a relationship with a young actor, this is played by Zac Efron, for whom her daughter works as an assistant. So her daughter, a 24-year-old personal assistant to the actor, played by Zac Efron, quits her job after he changes the gate code on her while she is talking to a writer. A short time later, the actor visits her house to offer her an assistant producer position, but instead finds her mother, Brooke. So that is the beginning of their whirlwind age gap romance. And Nicole Kidman is the go-to star for stories like this. Like, people are actually interested, and it's starting quite a seedy discourse online, from what I've been able to tell. It's sort of like book talk, like the fact that all of these women are obsessed with romance novels now. It's just I think it was never a new thing, but the new aspect of it is that it's so normalized.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like seen as socially acceptable to read smut books in public now. And it's seen as socially acceptable to
is that what book talk is,
sell
like
these on the front
books?
shelves at Barnes and Noble. Yeah. I mean, it's all like grocery store crap,
gross,
obviously, but it's seen as literature now, and it's seen as a respectable hobby that you can even tell your family and friends and coworkers about, and people won't think that you're a deranged gooner when they should.
I read Penthouse Letters, and it's wholesome. What?
Yeah,
it's just imagination porn. That's all you're doing.
I remember there was another movie of this sort, starring Jennifer Lawrence, who is hired by this 19-year-old boy's parents to take his virginity. It's called No Hard Feelings. That came out in 2023. And again, people just went gaga for this. There was another one in 2023 called May December, which revolves around Gracie Atherton Yu and her husband Joe, who are 23 years apart in age. 20 years after their scandalous relationship made tabloid headlines, they face the graduation of their twins and the arrival of a Hollywood actress who is researching for a film that she's starring in about them. And it brings up long dormant feelings and uncovers deeper layers of their past scandal. But it's not a condemning tone. You know, there's no tone that like we should look down upon this. It's really that people find it fascinating and exciting and in a pornographic way. But it's also, it's not just an escapist thing. It's also an outlet for a lot of anxiety that people feel about aging and about beauty standards. And I noticed like a lot of women really liked The Substance, which came out late last year, starring, I think it was Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. So she has a body double that's like the younger version of her, from what I understand. And
Demi Moore does?
Yeah, it turns into this like body horror fest of.
Oh wait, is that she actually has a body double, or it's in the movie she has a body double?
In the movie, yeah, she has a double that is a younger, hotter version of her, and they end up, they're like fighting each other basically to keep their spot. I didn't watch that one either, but it explores themes of feminine angst, societal pressures on women's bodies and aging, as well as the male gaze.
The male gaze.
So Demi Moore in the movie, she takes a black market drug called The Substance that creates a younger version of herself that is played by Margaret Qualley.
The Substance.
And this
there was a horror movie called The Stuff.
What is that?
It was ice cream that people would eat, and it was actually it was an alien that would kill them. But it was called The Stuff.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Some kind of
Definitely
Men
AAA.
in Black type thing. But it's obviously grotesque and graphic, and it's meant to make you uncomfortable. But people are attracted to stories like this now because I think, first of all, the influence of pornography.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it.
Or like the readily available access to it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for stories like that, you can literally just watch porn and there you have it. I don't think that Hollywood should be writing, platforming, and marketing stories like that.
Well, Hollywood is like the line between pornography and legitimate entertainers has never been more blurred.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that are distinctly in pornography that don't do any crossover, but there's a lot of people that, I mean, look, people know who Stormy Daniels is because of her involvement with the president and stuff, but it's like that's become a thing where it's normal for people to know the names of adult performers. And that wasn't like that. Like, there was like 2 in the 90s that people would know, and usually they were attached to some kind of scandal. I think Tracy Lords was one. She was doing adult films when she was underage, and that's why people knew her name, because she was underage doing adult films, and it came out. But like otherwise, it's like you didn't know, like normal people didn't know who, like, the names of the adult, the porn stars, so.
Yeah, and I don't mean to say that Hollywood has historically been this, like, bastion of moral principles and, like, it's been this wholesome industry up until 10, 15 years ago. Certainly not. But they were way better at hiding it, and I at least respect that.
Well,
now they're just, like, plumbing the depths of our most, like, disgusting psychosexual fascinations and, like, shoving it in our faces.
Look at the way popular culture is nowadays, though. Like, women behave like men. Like, it is looked at as modern and progressive for women to behave like men sexually. The reason that, like, Sexy Red is famous is because she is behaving as a man in her own context. So where she grew up, the way the lyrics and stuff that she sings about and the way that she behaves, literally being a prostitute, she talks about being a prostitute, like that is the way that a man would be, according to her, that is the way that a man would behave. You know, that like do illegal things, break the law, sell drugs, steal, behave as a criminal, commit crimes in order to get the money that you need. And that's essentially the way that men behave in the context that she's in. Like men from the hood or whatever, like where she grew up and stuff, that's what men did. So when she is told, behave like a man by feminists, you should act like men, from her context, it's not go be a CEO.
I see.
It's be a gangster.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I never thought about it that way.
It's exactly what it's her context. It's what a man is to her because of the context that she grew up and lives in. So if you're like Megyn Kelly just said today, and it was the most ridiculous tweet. She was like, "Hey, ladies, you can do it all. You can be Murphy Brown. You can have a kid and a family and a man that loves you and a career and blah 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 and be a CEO." And it's like, no, you can't. Megyn Kelly is like, whether or not you find her particularly attractive is not the point. She is a slim, attractive, outgoing, bubbly personality, and that is why she was capable of doing the things that she was doing.
Yeah.
If you're an introvert, if you're an unattractive introvert and you try to do the things that Megyn Kelly is telling you that you can do, you are going to have a miserable life. But that's because of the context that she's in.
Thank you. That's our 5th party today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that tweet recently. I wasn't sure what to make of it other than, that's you, Megyn. Like, you're literally who everyone envies because you have it all.
Yeah, I mean...
And not everyone can. That's the point.
Wow. No.
Everyone just believes that they're temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
Yeah, and look, I mean, that's not to say that you shouldn't try to get the best for yourself and shouldn't put effort into yourself. But the idea that everyone can do what Megyn Kelly has done is wrong. Like, it is not true.
And back to the fantasy that is being sold in a lot of these movies, I think you're right that there is a certain envy for men and
yes,
at least what is perceived to be like what men are allowed to do.
Yeah.
But there's
no thought to the responsibilities that men have and the difficulties that men go through. And again, if you're saying like Megyn Kelly says, oh, you can do everything and feminists are telling you can go be that CEO and blah, 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 right? Like that is not typical of men either. Like,
and even if you could have it all, it doesn't mean that you would want it or that it would even make you happy in the long run. The
thing that women, the 6 figures, 6 foot, blah, 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 that whole 6-pack abs and yada, yada. That guy, the, blonde hair, blue eyes, works in finance, that is like less than, it's 0.01% of the male population. And yet, feminists behave as if that's every man. To a feminist, every man is their dad or the president. Like that's it. All men. Doesn't matter if they're picking up the garbage. It doesn't matter if they're in the sewers working. All men are that oppressive, man in power. When they look at men, they don't see most men. Most men don't exist. They're ghosts. This is something that the guy Homath says a lot. I don't know if you guys know who he is. But essentially Homath says like most dudes don't even exist to most women. And so like when women are like mad at men, they're mad at only like 2% of men. And the other 98% of men don't even exist.
In a way, with these stories, I think it's sort of a misplaced revenge fantasy at the end of the day. But I don't see this trend in Hollywood going anywhere anytime soon. I think they're going to double down on it. And it's also a sign of like recession that all of these like young guys want to kind of hitch their wagon to a successful woman who has it made and can just mommy them. Well. But there's a lot to it. I mean, I couldn't begin to understand their psychological issues.
If you're a young man and you're told you're always going to be bad, you're always going to be the problem, you shouldn't excel, and you're also being locked out of jobs because you're a man, you're locked out of all kinds of things. Like if you can bang successful women and get successful women to pay for you, why not?
Right. And then on top of that too, like I've dated a girl that was significantly older than me, and that was like 8 years or so, 7 or 8 years. I don't remember exactly, but that was I was never under like the idea. It was never because of like, oh, I'm trying to get this girl who's older than me. It was more because like, oh wow, this girl who's older than me is paying attention to me and like thinks I'm cool and thinks I'm interesting and wants to talk to me and is a good person, has their life figured out. That was the reason why I would have pursued them. It had nothing to do with like this
Some
weird
weird,
obsession, like Cougarville, like, oh, I'm an old lady. It's like, it is true though. Like I can see a lot of people going towards a girl that can actually pay to go out and pay to do stuff because they have the extra money. It's almost like it flipped from what it used to be like 50 years ago, because now the women are the breadwinners. It's like, well, I mean, you have the bread, like where I can't do anything. I can't like suddenly just make all these things happen for me in my life. Yeah, it makes sense. It's just the inevitable flipping of the roles, because that's what they wanted all along, right?
Well, I guess they're getting what they wanted.
Right? Yeah.
Let's finish up reading these super chats. Surinko Productions said, there's so much more to this story. For instance, the It Ends With Us final cut was the one that Blake Lively forced the studio to take over Justin's. Yeah, and that, I believe he found out like during the premiere of the movie that it wasn't the version of the movie that he made, because she had more power in the studio. It kind of just blows her claim out of the water that she was, this powerless actress who was getting bullied and pushed around. DCNC said, Phil, I didn't know you were mates with Epstein. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Nice.
Shane H. Wilder said, parents never let me watch Big, and I still haven't. Yeah, I mean, you're probably not missing out on much. No Control said, hey, Phil, sorry for starting the requests for covers trend last week. Glad Mary is home, and I hope Surge on PCC becomes a regular thing. We miss you in the Discord, brother.
Everybody loves Surge.
True.
They do love you.
Maybe. Discord is a hellhole.
Give the people what they want.
Avoid Discord. Not our Discord. Discord in general. I just try to avoid that thing.
Pop Culture Junkie said, your discussion of Big brings up an interesting question. Any other movies you feel very different about now versus when you first saw them?
That's interesting.
No. And the reason is I don't look at the world through a quote unquote modern lens.
I look at the world through a lens.
Karate Kid. I'm totally on Johnny's side when I watch it.
Have you watched
totally rooting for Cobra Kai when I watch it.
Have you watched Cobra Kai, the TV show?
The first couple seasons, yeah, I did.
Yeah, so did I.
But even before that, I was like, you know what, Johnny wasn't even that bad of a guy.
Yeah, when you especially when you see Cobra Kai, and it's like he's actually telling the story from his perspective, you're like, yeah, I can totally see how that would be,
Stole his girl. Pop Culture Junkie. Shane H. Wilder said, would you say Chester's son was crawling in his skin?
Oh, God.
Ugh.
These transition wounds, they will not heal. Fear is how he falls, confusing what is real. Yeah, I might say that. Weary Traveler said, there is a theory the Clintons killed Chester? For what? What would they get out of it?
Who knows?
That is not a theory. That is just a super chat.
No Control said Static X did the best job on vocal replacement.
He's doing a great job.
He is.
He legitimately is.
Yeah.
No kidding around. There was a minute where they were trying to keep a secret about who the singer is. Yeah. And then people were just like, we know it.
He was there through a lot of that stuff. People don't realize how popular Static X was. I remember Static X just from his hairstyle alone. And then I was mad at the Slim Jim guy in the 90s, the ad guy, for taking his hairstyle. I'm like, what the hell is this guy trying to be Static X, but not really. But yeah, Static X is doing well for himself and doing what I would see I think you should do at that point in your career is just help out. Yo, these people really care about these bands.
Yep.
I can fill in these parts. I've seen them do these parts IRL. I can do this, and then he's doing it. That's fucking respectable. If I should say to myself. Corn
Pop said, "Mary, say my name." Well, I said it once. I'm not going to say it again. Crystal Roller said, "Freaky Friday, Jamie and Lindsay, a fave still." Yeah, and they're remaking it. I'm not looking forward to it. They're remaking it with Jamie and Lindsay again. Wow. Even though the one that they made was also a remake. Rapscallion said, I hate Illinois Nazis.
Yeah, that's the line from Blues Brothers. That's when I saw the Ohio Nazis. I thought Illinois Nazis. So it's I hate Ohio Nazis.
It was the Illinois Nazis because of the Skokie, Illinois.
Yep, and it's funny about that movie. Quick cultural comment. It's in the movie. They're making fun of them for driving a little VW Beetle and being socialists and being into central planning, which is the real thing to make fun of. And the fact that they're racist is also another major issue. But in that movie, they're driving this dinky little small Volkswagen, and they're making fun of him for being into this too technical, nerdy bullcrap, which is true. I hate Ohio Nazis. Let it be known.
DCNC said, Surge, say something.
What something?
There you go.
There you go. Hiroshima Otaru said A24 is the worst. That is all. Fully agree. I cannot believe it. There are people who have A24 tattoos now.
Yep.
Oh,
Like, you just like a movie studio. It's not even a specific movie. You just like the company.
Imagine getting like CBS
What is wrong
News,
with these
CBS
people?
News on your chest,
Right?
here
Like,
or something like the
it's
MSNBC
insane.
thing, dude. Ridiculous.
Matthew Dickinson said, I'm only here to support Surge.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
That's sweet.
Appreciate it, man.
DCNC said Anne Hathaway is still a babe, though. She is.
Yes,
She's a vampire.
she is.
She's actually a vampire.
She's like a blood countess. She's like sacrificing girls and then having the blood on her
There's
on
something
herself. Like, what was
going
that
on.
like Bathory? I think it's that's her name, Bathory or whatever. Anyway, you can look it up.
Omega Red fan said Peter Pan, but it's a male feminist.
Yeah.
It's kind of all of them. Shane H. Wilder said, I took a psychology of the media course. One assignment was to examine the popularity of modern romance novels. We had to read one. I wanted to die. Well, tell us which one it was. I'm curious now. I hope it wasn't too untoward. It's disgusting. DCNC said, does the male gaze make you uncomfortable, Mary? He spelled it gaze as in homosexuals.
That's what I heard when you said male gaze. I heard male gaze.
You know, I can get along with them just fine, but it's never a two-way street. Weary Traveler
what?
with a
No,
gaze.
let's move along.
The gaze, yeah. Weary Traveler said, I'm an avid reader and buy almost all my books from Amazon now because local bookstores only carry romance novels because of how popular
Wow.
it's gotten. I mean, I've always asked myself, how do these bookstores even stay in business? Like, this is convincing me that we do live in a simulation. But no, it's because all these women are going there to buy their pornography, essentially. And Colleen Hoover is not that much of a step above. Ghost of Valhalla said, I don't mind age gap relationships as long as it is between two consenting adults. Yeah, I mean, that's
You're of age.
Kind of,
that's the point.
the unanimous decision. Roma Nation said, Shane H. Wilder, I don't envy you, LOL. What up, Mary and Phil? Thanks for having us on Friday. We gotta do it again.
What up, homie?
What happened on Friday?
Roman
He
Nation was on.
Oh,
IRL.
cool.
Yeah.
Tony Nagy said something in a different language that I cannot say.
Oh, what did he say?
Wait,
I've-
cannot say because you can't read it?
I can't say it
Okay.
because I can't read it.
Viranke Salahiri Superklets Lias Matthew.
How did you know?
Because it's an Afrikaans. He's saying, who do you think will read this super chat? Which is
Oh,
extremely meta. Nice
there you
one,
go.
Tony.
James Pauly said, I knew Tracy Lords because of Lords of Acid.
Sick.
Oh, okay.
Shane H. Wilder said, Phil mentioning this stuff. Nice. Let's go. That was a deep cut. Value in You said, you nailed it, Mary. It's all about the subjective definition of having it all. Often that has nothing to do with work. Yeah, I mean, Megyn Kelly is obviously much more cutthroat, disagreeable, outspoken,
Yeah.
confident than 99% of people out there, let alone women. So maybe she just isn't able to step into the shoes of women who don't think like her. And also women who are not as fortunate to look like her. She's also gorgeous. Like, she just has everything going for her. Javier Bernal said, Megyn Kelly is a huge B in that statement. In that moment, she is given a grand miracle and says it's easy for anyone. Did she want to spread misery? I don't think she wanted to spread misery. I don't think she was going out of her way to spread misery, but she's just has a very narrow view of what life is like. Shane H. Wilder said the book was very untoward. Can't remember the name. It's probably best that you can't remember. Okay, I think we're all caught up on the super chats, so we're gonna start wrapping up the show. Serge, how about you let everyone know where they can find you if you would like them to find you at all?
Yeah, find me on my music stuff. If you look with my name, SERGE, and then start typing the D, you'll eventually find my stuff on everything,
Great.
all over the
Yeah.
internet.
How about you, Phil?
I am Phil That Remains on Twix, X, which you can subscribe to my page there. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. New record dropped on January 31st. It is called Anti-Fragile. It's pretty badass. I'm pretty proud of it. You can check it out on YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer. And don't forget, The Left Lane is for Crime.
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. You should also go follow the show on social media. Our Instagram is Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Our X is popculture_show. If you would like to listen to the show rather than watch, you should go follow us and leave us rates and reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, as well as ringing that bell so that you get notified every time we go live. And with all that being said, we will be back with a brand new episode tomorrow. See you then.